Hello, this is the video for lab 3. This is Deborah and Zixi and Nealson.
We mainly have these two files, the stock editor menu and the Wi-Fi and scraper. And we will talk about the details of these two files later, but first, let us show what these files can do. Let's run the Wi-Fi and scraper.py. Okay, and we will use a couple of companies as a demonstration. So we use Google, Amazon, Tesla, and Microsoft. Okay, and the time range, we're gonna choose max. And the interval, we're gonna choose 1 month. Okay, we can either export it to a CSV or a TXT, or we can export it to SQL. Let's try SQL first. And then it's gonna ask for the user and password. We will just keep it in root. And we type in the password.
Which is password.
Yes. And then the name of the database, we're gonna use demo for this video. Okay, and so as we can see here, the demo was empty before we run the script. And now when we refresh it, we can see that Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Tesla has all been added to the database. And if we click one, we can see the data inside. It has like these are scripted from using Wi-Finance, and this is the calculated daily return. Now let's test the other file.
This is the additional script that we're supposed to make to like drop and edit the portfolio. It's like an interface basically.
Yes, and then in this one, we can either add or drop the a stock, or we can display what's inside the stock. So let's first display what's inside. And we're gonna use the root server for SQL, and we type in the password and the name of the database demo, and then we can see we have these stocks inside. We have Tesla, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, and we're showing the first 5 rows. Now if we wanna drop them, and we type in the name, and then it's giving out a message that we have successfully dropped these, and then we use display to confirm that. And we see that there are no stocks in portfolio. Now we can also use this interface to add stocks. So let's say we want to just add 2 stocks, Google and Amazon. And we choose max and 1 month. It has been added successfully. Now if we use display, we can see that Google and Amazon has been added to the database. And we can confirm that on the web as well. As we can see, Tesla and Microsoft has been dropped, and we only have Google and Amazon here in the demo database. Okay, and now we're going to go to details about our scripts. First, the Wi-Fi and scraper.py.
This is main. First, we'll be asking the user what companies they want to look for, what's their time period or time frame of the data that they want to get, and what are the intervals. Then we'll actually scrape the data with a function called his_scraping. Once that's done, we'll output that. We give the user the option to put that output into a CSV file or into the SQL database. So if we scroll back up, we're going to explain or show in detail what this code is. So the first one is user companies, and this just asks for the user to input their company that they want to get the data from, and it gets validated. The first time that you run this code and then you enter the company names, when it's being validated, it will take a little bit longer But after that, it checks that the companies have the stock info, and if it does, it will return the company. And then the next function is user period. Again, it just asks what the time range the user wants to get the data from. You can select from 1 day to max, and we recommend max so that we don't exceed the time limit that Y Finance has. User interval, it just asks for the interval range, and you can enter whichever one that you want as long as it's within that list. And then his scraping is when we actually scrape the data from the user inputs, return that data, and then get output format. The user can determine if they want to put that output into CSV file or into the SQL server. And then export data, yeah, we just export it.
And get DB name, user password, just asking for the username and password and the database name for to add the stocks to add tables to. Create databases. It just basically adds the database if the database doesn't exist. So let's say you put like a random database, it'll like create the database if it doesn't exist. And it catches for connection errors. Connect to MySQL database, just establishing a connection to the database. Create lookup, it creates the stock lookup, which holds the stock as a primary key. So like AMZN is like the primary key, and creation date is the creation date of when you add the stock to the portfolio. Create table is when you actually make the table, the stock table, before you creating an instance of it, before you insert the values into the table. It drops the table first if it exists, and it creates it again because you want to replace all the values. Let's say you change the time intervals to like 2 months. It will like conflict if you keep it the same table, so you drops it first. The insert table, it just basically inserts all the values into the table in MySQL. It goes for each row in the pandas data frame, and it pushes it all into the SQL table server. That stock to lookup is basically it adds stock and the creation date, which is the day to day, to the stock lookup table, which is later displayed. If you're already at the stock and its creation date, it will skip if the stock already exists in the stock lookup. It actually keeps the date when you add it to the portfolio. And then this part, handle missing values, calculate daily returns, is for task 3, the pre-processing task.
So basically, there are like many ways to fill missing values. Here we're using the techniques called forward and backward fill. So we're using these two functions, one forward fill and one backward fill, to deal with missing values. In the table, there is one column called daily returns. This one is not scraped from the data that was originally in the Y Finance. We actually calculate daily returns based on the percentage of change in the close column. The daily return is like the percentage change of each day's closing value. We calculate that and then we add it to the table.
And then export SQL is the actual function where it exports everything to the SQL database. First, it converts it to a pandas data frame. It creates the database if it doesn't exist, connects to it, creates the lookup table, and it checks if like the data set has like multiple stocks in the one data set, and it basically adds the daily returns column, adds the missing handle the missing values, creates a container table, inserts the values to the table, and then add the stock to the stock lookup table. That's it. And it close the connection.
And now we're going to go over the other file, the stock editor menu.py.
The first one was get task inputs, just asking for what task you wanted to do, add drop display. If the task at the start does not end, it will ask for the database name, user, and the password. And then if task, there's add stock, drop stock, and display stock. And it'll like keep looping and asking for the task input until you type N in the console. If you see from Y Finance scraper import star, it takes a lot of code from the Y Finance scraper. And first it gets task input. And I put a validation check there. So if if you type something else, then add drop display and it'll like just keep asking you. Add stock is basically the his scraping function and the export SQL function. Since it just like imports everything from Wi-Fi and scraper. Display stock, you connect to the database, get all the table names, and then if the portfolio is not empty, get the first 5 rows and the creation date, and you just like I format it to like push it out nicely, convert it to data frame, and just like print it in the console. And drop stock is basically you connect to the database, and then you ask for the stocks you want to drop from the database, and then for every stock that you want to drop, it drops the table if it exists and drop it from the stock lookup. That's it. That's all this code is basically.
And that should be everything.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.